It's not your Second Amendment right.
Let's talk about that immigration thing, though. I mean, I don't want to. We'll get to Second Amendment. Trust me. Yeah. But I want to talk about that because you have mentioned that you want to defend the Second Amendment in part because you believe we should be able to defend ourselves against immigrants coming to the country.
Against anything that threatens to harm us. Right. That's what the Second Amendment is for. Against our government.
Let's talk about the immigration part of it.
Against anything.
Is there a specific
because that's
threat?
A huge threat in America.
Is there a specific
anything?
Is there a specific threat from coming from the southern border that you believe requires Americans to take arms and go to the border with them to defend the country?
I don't know if either of you have. I've been to the border several times. I've been with our ICE agents. I've spent a considerable amount of time with both groups. When they say we don't know who's coming across our border and we see people from 78 nations in the last couple of months that have come over here and we have a porous border, I'm not saying defend yourself because immigrants are bad. I'm saying when we don't know who's coming across our border, that is a threat to our national security. And so Democrats want to turn that into it's anti-migrant, you don't like brown people. No. I don't like anyone coming to my country. I don't know who they are. And when you have an unenforced border, that is what happens.
Right. So I'm not.
So let me just interject here. Listen, Second Amendment rights. We're allowed to have our guns. We're allowed to keep them. We're allowed to have them. No question about it. People like Ana Kasparian, the progressives, and others, moderates, liberals, leftists, want to do whatever they can to limit our ability to have those. When you're talking on some of these border states, who are you going to call? Ghostbusters. Who are you going to call? The police. How long is it going to take for the police to arrive? You've got huge swaths of land over there where people are just living, in areas, rural areas that are so far away from the police. They need something to defend themselves. So the talking point from Ana and her ilk are that, you just want to have guns so you can just, shoot at immigrants and do this and do that. And Tomi is saying that's not true. Again, the hyperbole is coming from Ana's side, not from Tomi's side. She's just basically saying we have a right to defend ourselves because the government isn't doing anything to stem the tide of illegal immigrants who are coming across the border, many of whom are in gangs, many of whom are part of the cartel, many of whom will be willing to do just absolutely evil, atrocious things to get what they want. And we have to be able to defend and protect ourselves, no matter who they are, whether they're white, brown, black, green, yellow, purple, whatever color, whatever nationality.
I'm not going to sit here and accuse you of being racist because you want a secure border, but let's talk about whether or not, why are we not able to have an immigration policy? I would argue that part of that comes from the fact that both sides are coming at each other so hard and perhaps not listening too much. Let's talk specifically about how to fix the immigration problem. You recognize there's a problem. I can't put words in your mouth, but I think most of us recognize that immigration isn't quite working in this country the way that it should. What is the solution in your mind, Tomi? Like, how do you, not just what are the problems, but how do we fix them?
Well, the first solution is to build a wall. And it's not because I'm a Trumpian. It's not because Donald Trump said it and I believe it. It's because I've spent time with the men and women of Border Patrol, and when the people that are out there on the front lines day in and day out say, if we had a physical barrier, our jobs would be much easier. We could dedicate resources other places. We need a physical barrier. And then for the Democrats to say, no, it's a manufactured crisis. The Border Patrol agents that do this for a living, they don't really know what they're talking about. Walls, we don't need walls. That's not going to solve the problem. You're completely dismissing people that do this for a living. These people are Republicans, these people are Democrats, these people, some don't care about politics, 50% Hispanic, Latino who are serving in Border Patrol, and they say, we need a barrier, we need a wall. Every single one of them I talk to. So to say that doesn't work, you're saying these people don't know what the hell they're talking about.
So I think...
Now, before we get to Anna's response, I would listen to a person who has actually been there, seen the problems, talked to the people that are on the front line, then listen to somebody who has never been to the border, has never talked to a border agent in their life, has no idea it's coming from firsthand information. So I would tend to listen to the person who's actually gone down there and looked at the problem firsthand and seen the problem firsthand and talked to the people who are responding to the problem firsthand.
Solutions are incredibly important, and I think that the left has been mischaracterized. This whole notion of open borders is not something that's, a widespread idea that's accepted by people on the left. But I will say that part of the problem is that we always focus on what we can do, what kind of Band-Aid we can use to solve a giant gushing wound. And so, yes, there has been a migrant crisis, but we never ask, what caused this migrant crisis? Why is there so much crime, in the Northern Triangle? And
first, I just have to interject and stop this. Who gives a damn, why there's crime in the Northern freaking Triangle? It's not our job to find out what the problems are in other countries. It's our job, Anna, to find the problems that are in our country with our people and find our solutions to our problems. Once we do that, then we can figure out, what the hell is going on in the freaking Northern Triangle? Do we have to find out what the problem is in Sub-Saharan Africa? Do we have to find out what the problem is in Calcutta, in New Delhi, in India? Do we have to find out what the problem is in Pakistan, in the Middle East, and solve those problems? We've been very poor problem solvers for the world. In many instances, and just in the big instances, we've solved the problems, but in these smaller ones, we've been terrible. I don't give a damn about the problems in the Northern Triangle, why people are coming over here. Solve our problems first.
And we have to take responsibility as Americans for our actions abroad. So let me be specific. There are multiple actions we can take to root out crime in countries like Honduras, El Salvador, and Guatemala. For instance, over 200,000 guns from the United States travel south of the border into these Central American countries, which leads to crime. These cartels, these gang members use these guns, which, by the way, are purchased legally in the United States at gun shows and things like that. It helps them carry out the violence that's making these migrants flee. So we have to ask ourselves, yes, we have the Second Amendment. Yes, we should protect it. But what can we do to stop the flow of U.S. guns into Central American countries? One other thing.
Before she says her one other thing, the stupidity of this argument from Anna and the progressives is that, let's assume that the guns, bought legally, going down south, being sold, people are using them to commit crimes, whatever. Now, if they weren't going from here, are you telling me that that would solve the problem and the rush from the south, from the southern border to United States of America would completely stop? It would end? If you can guarantee me that, maybe I might be thinking about, let's stop the sales of guns south of the border. You can't do that. Maybe, but you can't show me that that's going to happen. You can't guarantee me that. And if it's not coming from here, it would be coming from other places. They would have suppliers from other regions, other people, and the same thing would happen, and they would still flee because it's geographical. It has nothing to do with the freaking guns. Get your head on straight, for crying out loud.
How to slow down aging without wasting money on costly creams or supplements. This way to fight aging by simply drinking water is taking the world by storm. Watch this video now before the bottled water companies take it down. A brilliant water scientist from Japan just destroyed the billion-dollar bottled water industry by building a device that turns regular water into a high antioxidant drink in seconds. Water science expert Dr. Akio Tanaka made an unusual discovery while studying drinking water in a remote Japanese village. The villagers who lived there didn't age as fast as other people. They lived longer. They were stronger and had more energy. Their DNA was even 10 to 15 years younger than that of others their age. Their secret? They all drank water from the same mountain spring. Lab tests showed very high levels of molecular hydrogen in the water, a powerful antioxidant. But molecular hydrogen is not found in regular bottled water. Until recently, you could only get it from a natural source. When Dr. Tanaka realized the positive impact this discovery could have on people's health, he started looking for a way to give everyone access to this type of water. And after months of testing and different prototypes, he succeeded. His patented SPE technology uses electrolysis to split water molecules into hydrogen and oxygen. The hydrogen bubbles then charge the water, flooding it with healthy antioxidants. After securing $5 million in funding to bring his product to market, it's now finally available for sale. It's called the H2 Next, and it's a game changer. Simply fill the bottle with tap water, push the button, and wait for the electrolysis to do its magic. Every sip from this bottle protects your cells from damage. It slows aging and gives you the same benefits as the Japanese villagers. The bottle is made of nearly indestructible Gorilla Glass, making it extremely durable and free of harmful microplastics. The built-in USB rechargeable battery works for weeks on a single charge, all while remaining dishwasher safe. Users report increased energy levels, improved skin elasticity, and enhanced mental clarity. Because hydrogen-rich water acts as a powerful antioxidant in the body, it neutralizes harmful free radicals that contribute to aging and other health issues. H2 Next is already helping thousands of people. But not everyone is happy about Dr. Tanaka's invention. The bottled water corporations want to shut him down for hurting their profits. They want to keep selling their overpriced and unhealthy water instead. But Dr. Tanaka wants to get his anti-aging Hydro Pure bottle to as many people as possible. He fears the bottled water industry and its lawyers will try to shut him down soon. That's why he's offering a limited-time discount. So if you want to slow aging, protect your cells from disease, and have more energy, don't wait. Click the link in this video to get a 50% discount on your H2 Next while it's still available.
Loud.
Our drug war has also fueled violence in these countries. So it's not enough to say, we're just gonna build a wall and be done with it.
No, you have to stop the
Unfortunately,
hemorrhaging.
it's not gonna work.
You gotta stop the hemorrhaging.
Because the majority of undocumented immigrants came here by flying in.
Let me ask.
So
Let me ask this, and Tomi and I have worked together before. She knows I am progressive, but I do my best to be fair, so I'll admit my bias here. Is there an argument that I know that as liberals, as progressives, myself included, we often say that, you know, this wall would be a horrible message to send to our southern neighbors. It would send a message that amounted to discrimination based on race.
I mean, that ship has sailed.
But if we try to extract that, let me just ask for devil's advocate's purpose, is there not a world in where both the problems that you're talking about and the problems you're talking about could not be addressed at the same time? Is it worth it for Democrats to continue to oppose the wall specifically based on that? It almost sounds as if though a wall might be a Band-Aid, arguably, but a Band-Aid in place while these other issues are addressed. Is it worth it for Democrats to continue to fight against the wall specifically, or could it be a part of a larger solution?
Well, I think that Democrats and their messaging on the wall has been a failure. And the reason why I say that is because they are not doing a good job discussing the complexity of immigration and why there's a flow of migrants. Instead, they're focusing on the discrimination angle, they're focusing on the bigotry angle, and I get that. That's what gets the most attention. But in reality, like, they do need to talk about the complexities at hand, and that means talking about gun regulation. That means putting themselves out there to discuss solutions for very controversial issues that are related to immigration. I don't think that they want to do that.
I agree with you on that, but I also want to address, you keep going back to the Second Amendment, and I want to make sure I understand you correctly, because what it sounds like to me, and I'm sure to a lot of conservatives that are listening, is that we should infringe upon my Second Amendment rights so that they don't go to other countries south of our border, and then that makes them come to our country illegally. I'm not going to give up my Second Amendment rights because we've got illegal immigrants that are trampling over our borders.
So
that's not the solution that
I hear
most
what you're
Americans
saying. I hear what you're saying. So I think that it's really important to understand that every constitutional right that we have has its limitations. I am supportive of the Second Amendment. However, there are certain loopholes that are helping to send these guns to Central America. So for instance, there was a wonderful piece recently written in The New Yorker that talked about a Floridian, a gentleman named Mr. Crumpler, I forget his first name, but he was buying a giant amount of guns at these gun shows, right? So you can go to a gun show, there's really no regulation, you could purchase as many guns as you want, and he was selling it to individuals from Honduras. And then he started realizing, they keep wanting AR-15s, they want specific types of guns, who are these people, what are they doing with the guns? And finally, he ended up working with the feds because he realized he was helping fuel the violence in these countries where all these migrants are fleeing. And so it's a very simple issue. Just close the gun show loophole. That doesn't infringe on your rights.
But do you
still
realize that
your gun.
if you buy your gun from a firearms dealer, you still have to go through the background check? You realize that, right? That you
I do,
just,
but I'm not talking about buying it from a dealer. And even in the case of buying your gun at a dealer where you do a background check, there are loopholes to that process as well. So one of the ways that Dylan Roof was able to purchase a gun was, the FBI literally has 3 days to do the background check. He went right before a 3-day weekend, right? There was a federal holiday. And so the FBI didn't get back to the private seller in time. And at that point, the private seller, without doing a background check or having the FBI doing the background check, can just sell the gun, right? So that's the reason why I'm saying you can still have access to your Second Amendment rights, to your guns, but there are certain laws that just make sense, certain loopholes that we should cut or get rid of in order to ensure that guns don't end up in the wrong hands.
And we can have those conversations. But when you have people like candidates from your party saying we're going to confiscate your guns, we're going to send the police to knock on your door and confiscate your guns, that's problematic. But before we get into the full Second Amendment thing, I do want to go back to immigration, because you talked about some of the problems and how we're not addressing the problems and we're not providing solutions. I think the wall is a solution. I don't think that's the only solution. We need to change our asylum laws so that people that are actually seeking asylum are able to see those judges in a timely manner, and they're not right now, because anybody is coming across the border, which, by the way, you're not claiming asylum if you come into this country illegally and then raise your hands and say, I'm claiming asylum. You claim asylum at a port of entry. That is not the case.
So what do we
with
do when Border Patrol agents are literally blocking ports of entry to prevent them from coming in legally? What do we do? Because that's the thing. Trump has gone out of his way to do away with legal means to claim asylum.
That is not true.
I don't know what your family values are, but my
true.
family values are, if my family is in jeopardy, if their lives are at risk, I will do anything and everything to get them to safety.
Let's let Tomi have a chance to respond to that too.
I'd like to be able to finish my full thought here. Okay. So you've got asylum laws and people that are actually seeking asylum that have credible fear. They get to have their time in front of a judge. And it turns out, as per Border Patrol, most of those asylum claims are fraudulent, or they are not a credible fear. They're deemed really invalid. And by that time, though, because our immigration because we've been invaded to the extent that we have, with 100,000 people coming over in a month, thank goodness our president and DHS has been able to drop that number, thank goodness, to about 50,000, still too many. But they wait 2 to 5 years to go to their court date. By that time, they have already escaped into the shadows of this nation. They've already had children. They are now essentially living in the shadows as an illegal immigrant. That is a problem. People that are actually have credible fear, they are pushed to the back of the line. And when you say that our president is closing a port of entry, I went to San Diego and to that San Ysidro port.
I know, but your anecdotal evidence
I know, but you need to let me talk.
What means?
If you let me talk, I can give you more than
let me actually talk for a second. Hold on, let me talk for 1 second, because I asked you.
Go ahead. Finish my thought.
So anyways, let's end it here, as the cat fight started at the very end. But I would basically have to give this part 2 of the debate, I think I'm going to have to give it to Tomi Lahren over Ana, because all I heard from Ana was Second Amendment, bad. Gun problem. Guns are the problem, not the people. Oh, it's the drugs. It's the problems that, we got to solve the problems of other people's countries and other people's problems. We got to do that. And guns are the big thing. If there were no guns, those countries wouldn't have any problems at all. And that was it. On Tomi's side, she was basically making the point that, no, that's not the issue. It's all these other things that are there. It's people coming in and misusing the asylum laws and coming over the border. They have to be at a port of entry, but no, they're entering in here. Then because their immigration laws are so freaking screwed up, it's nothing that you can have your asylum hearing in 24 or 48 hours or reasonable amount of time. Like she was saying, 2 to 5 years. That's what it's taking. And then by that time, like she said, you've got children already, you're in the shadows, nobody's coming out. So in that regard here, I would probably have to say, I think Tomi had a lot more points, at least specificity of what her points were and why they were, other than guns bad, America bad, America needs to solve problems abroad, period. That was it. Anyways, folks, we appreciate you taking the time to watch our video. That was part 2 of the politicon debate between Ana and Tomi. continue watching our other videos, part 3, 4, and 5 of these Politicon debates and the other ones as well. And we'd like to let you know that you're watching the Dr. Nasir Shaikh Show. I've been your guest host. My name is Dr. Nasir. If you haven't done so already, subscribe to the channel, like, share, and follow us. Hit that notification bell. Comment below. Let me know what you think. Who do you think won? Do you think I'm wrong? I can't be, because I'm always right, which brings me to my final thought, which is, when you're right, you're right. And when you're left, well, you guys are wrong. We'll see you again next time, folks. Take care and stay safe.